Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are here to talk about Our Boys. It's season 1. I almost said season 3 there. It's episode 3 though. Episode 3, it's 2 Packets of Red Next is the title of the episode. Full spoilers for the thing, of course, as always.
Sounds like you said rednecks.
Red Next. No, Red Next. Red Next.
Very different type of show.
Yeah. Yes. Two packs of rednecks. What would that even be?
I don't know.
It just sounds like some sort of future show where rednecks have become like enslaved and are sold in 6-packs. You buy six rednecks at a time.
Probably stars Larry the Cable Guy or something.
Yeah, he sounds like the sort of dude that'd be in that. Yeah. So this is episode 3 of Our Boys, and despite our ridiculous humor at the start of this, it's a very serious show about very serious topics.
Yes.
And we're obviously
not laughing during the episode.
No, certainly was not. But it was, it was this fallout. My God, I can't speak tonight. This fallout of Mohammed's disappearance and apparent death. Of course, this episode still features Hussein and his wife not really being told or knowing exactly what's happened, and very much being asked more questions, this time by Simon himself, who comes in to speak to him. It makes it feel a bit more sort of official. And he asks all these questions to Simon, and Simon asks these questions, but then, of course, Hussein in return starts asking a lot of questions as well. Why are you asking me this kind of thing? And, of course, the big topic from the end of last episode is the sexuality of Mohammed. And we do actually get a bit of a revelation later in the episode that kind of implies that it isn't actually as true as we or at least isn't as immediately true as we first thought at face value.
Yeah, again, there's more like murky water here. Like this episode is it's really about two things. It's more of an investigation. Like we're really getting into like the
nitty-gritty,
like the Zodiac killer, trying to find, like, piecing together all the evidence. It's very much like the film Patriots Day, which I know you haven't seen, but there's a lot of parallels here. And like there's more of the detective. We have a timeline. We gotta like watch all the footage and piece things together. And then there's the other side, which kind of happens at the end, where it's just like, oh, the media is really out of control with this story.
Yeah, because it turns out it was a Jewish guy who basically leaked this story and like went to this LGBT like forum or whatever to essentially fabricate it so that it would take the heat off of the Jewish community and make it look like it was probably an Arab,
an honor
culprit.
Killing is what they said. Yeah.
And this is kind of, so it goes back to Simon kind of being right with his gut about who committed this. And of course, it's confirmed in the investigation side of the episode because we have them combing through all this footage of the security cameras and traffic cameras, and they're looking for the vehicle. And it's like, oh, it's this, generic grey, Honda Civic or whatever it was. I think that was the make.
Yeah.
And they're looking for this car, and it's like, yeah, but it's like one of the most common cars in the country. Like, thousands and thousands of people have it. And they're looking through all this footage, and there's a lot of them coming through and like getting different angles and getting them in different locations, and they get them outside this convenience store, and they want to like try and like investigate. So the two prongs to this is, one, it comes up that there was when Simon's talking to Hussein, he for the first time notably finds out about this attempted kidnapping from the night before, which Hussein brings up, says, oh, well, they tried it the night before and then they came back and did it with my son. And he's like, night before, attempted kidnapping, what's this I'm hearing about for the first time? I should know about this. And he actually he goes, it's actually
Hussein, who's just like, you're the one who just told me you're in charge, how do you not know about this? Like, this is clearly bias, and like it's just because you're a Jewish guy and my son is Arab that you don't take this seriously.
But of course, he is also equally upset by the fact that he doesn't know this, and we get a very cathartic scene where he goes to the two cops, the two uniforms, and chews them out for not reporting this properly and just treating it like it's a nothing thing. And they try to write it off as, oh, we get so many calls and stories every day, it just feels like another one of those. And he's like, I want to see that, like, this potential kidnap victim and the witnesses from the night before. I want to speak to them, like, right now. Go get the family. Like, I want to talk to all of them. And even in the interview when he's talking to this family, this uniformed cop, he keeps saying how ridiculous the story is whilst they're answering questions. Like he's trying to undermine the victims of a
He's trying
crime.
to justify why he didn't report it.
Yeah, the
Because
entire
not only that, I think he knew about it when it happened because she said that we went to the cops,
Mm,
and he's there with them, and even with the guy who said that I think it was an Arab, even though he says, no, you're putting words in my mouth. That's not what I said. And then so we know that's the same cop that was there during that whole ordeal, which we didn't actually see on camera. And then he's also the cop who showed up at the crime scene when Muhammad went missing,
yeah.
where he was reminded of this event. So he knows that they're connected and still dismisses it.
Yeah, well, because for me, this entire scene where Simon's interviewing this family and this cop is sitting there, this cop's motive for the entire scene is to just try and make himself look like he's not an idiot and make himself look like he's in the right. That is his only motivation.
He is sweating bullets though the whole time. Like, see, this is why the
Yeah.
story doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they're crazy. They're
And
crazy.
like,
I was ready to
okay,
dismiss
dude.
it. You know, like that is.
And it really makes Simon look good, like, because he is calm, he's good with the kid, he's good with the mother, he's getting all the information he needs, and he's getting a lot of information that
Yeah,
he
it does.
needs, helpful information.
Because the other thing with the cop saying things is that he's doing it like he literally does it in front of the people, the wife and husband. Like she says something about like what she saw, and then he immediately tries to poke holes in it and make her feel like she's lying. Like he's putting her on the defense of every single. And Simon's like, no, that's not how you talk to someone, especially when we have no reason to think she's actually lying. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we want her to feel comfortable, so she'll offer the information. And so the cop comes up looking worse than he ever has done before, and he already looked pretty bad. Like we already thought pretty low of him. And then Simon comes off, as you say, looking really good because he talks to him the right way. He's really nice to the kid. You know, the kid's drawing, and he's like being nice to him and kind of talking to him like an adult talking to a kid. And eventually he's asking about the kid about the car, and like what was the car like that the guys try to come and get you, and he's like, oh, can you draw it, can you color it in? And he's like, no. And he pulls out all the pencils, and he's like, you know, is the color of the car in this set? And he's like, no. And he shows him some photos of some cars, and he identifies one that looks like it. It's like, yeah, it's the grey car, which corroborates what they've been seeing on the security camera footage and what they've been getting glimpses of. And
would have been helpful to know, right?
Exactly. And they also get like some little beats of like one of the footage they get is like they can tell that there's like a bit of damage on the fender, and they also see the aerial on the antenna has been damaged as well. And so later on, when we have cops like combing the city looking for like these cars in various areas, they actually do find it at one point towards the end of the episode. They get a match. So, you know, it's this thing where all this information could have been had like much earlier, like you say, because these cops just weren't willing to listen to any of this. And then the flip side of this, which corroborates and confirms the not the identity specifically, but the identity of the, you know, were they Jewish, were they Arab? Like we get the answer to that question from the worker in this convenience store where they stopped to buy some stuff, because, and this is some beautiful police work, very simple. This is the policeman doing his job properly, where he doesn't actually.
It's so engaging, like it's really fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely! But when he finds this guy, because the guy's going on his pilgrimage, but he catches him at the bus stop. He's like, no, get off the bus. We have to talk to you. This is serious. And
you're not in trouble, but we need to talk to you right now.
They show him the footage, the security camera footage from the store, and. Which even getting that was an ordeal because it's in the riot area, so the policemen have to go in like their civvy clothes because they don't want to get into a fight with any rioters, so they have to like sort of sneak in.
I like the detail that the security footage is a top down, because the guy who owns the convenience store suspects that his own employees are stealing from him, instead of like, because the cops are like, why don't you have their security camera facing the people so that you can see who the faces are of the people who come in case you get robbed, because I'm more concerned about my coworkers or my employees robbing from me.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch. But yeah, so
I assume it's true.
Oh yeah, it makes some sense. It makes sense because you know, to an extent, the employee's in a place where they could steal a lot if they wanted to. Like, so it makes sense to have something there to prevent that. You know, other than just, you know, human trust because they're an employee. But like, yeah, but the thing that was really smart though is to make sure there was no bias in his answer. They never tell him why they're asking these questions. They just say, do you remember these two people? Okay, do you remember anything about them, and he's like, oh, they were Jewish. He's like, oh, what makes you say that? Oh, because they couldn't speak Arabic, and I had to speak in Hebrew. And this is like the confirmation, and then they call it in, and this is back at the command center of the police station, where Simon gets this call and confirms that they're Jewish, and they all just kind of go quiet. Like even the boss is like, okay, this just got tougher. This just got tougher because now there's no sugarcoating that. There's no smoothing this over. The culprits are Jewish, and it's some form of retaliation. And this isn't even the end of the episode. This is like maybe a halfway, 2/3, because this is where Simon's like, okay, now we know it's a Jewish culprit. The investigation can really get started because now we're not tiptoeing around this.
And he kind of gives that look to his boss, like, I told you so. And his boss, you could tell like the immediate sense of he's still like looking for confirmation that are they 100% sure that they're Jewish, because I can't run with this fact like unless I know 100%. Like he still can't quite get on board with it, even though they have confirmation.
Yeah, and like the rest of the investigation, Simon goes to this area in the forest and runs into some people, and I was looking for what's his face, Avishai, because they're dressed like him. They're clearly people from the same school, and he wasn't in the scene. I was looking at every face very closely. He wasn't there.
Me too. I was looking for him too.
Because I thought, this is an interesting way to bring him back in. This idea that he might actually be one of the culprits, that he could be behind this. Because we saw him chanting in episode 1. We saw him get into the when the bodies were discovered and it was confirmed that the victims had been killed. We saw him chant with everyone else, and it's maybe this idea: is he an extremist? Is he becoming this kind of thing? And we do see him later in the episode, but he kind of, and it's a neat little touch, is that Simon puts on his yarmulke before he goes over there, just so they know like he's Jewish and he's just being casual. We can talk to him, and they just start asking. He starts like talking about the crime and like hearing what their thoughts are on it, and they don't sound.
Yeah, he acts all naive about it, like, oh, I thought there was some police here earlier. What's all the commotion about? Oh, you didn't hear? Yeah. And this is where we find out like the narrative that the media is selling is out of control.
Yeah. We hear about the idea of the Arab honor killing. We hear about all this different
people
stuff.
think that his family, like an uncle or something, is the one that did it.
Yeah, which it was never. We don't even know if he's got an uncle. We've never even heard that had an uncle.
Well, we do. He has. No. Never mind. That's not the same family. I was thinking of the rabbi, but that's Simon's brother.
That's Simon's brother. Yeah. Yeah, so no, like that's really cool. And people are going to correct me and say there's an uncle in the first episode, and if that's the case, fair enough. But I don't remember there being an uncle. So
yeah, I don't know if it's clear that who is a part of the family other than like the mother and father and his brother and sister.
Yeah, but he connects these kids to this school, and he knows the kids from that school come up here to hang out, right? And we saw that I think in the first episode with Avishai. We saw that happen. And when he gets the list of all the cars, because they look up every single car that's of that make and model, and like every car that's registered to it, and when he gets the list, he looks very closely through it, and then he sees one that's addressed or registered to someone at that school, and goes, okay, I'm checking out this one. This is the one that I'm going to. And he goes, and it's
because clearly they know this spot well, like this little hangout spot.
Absolutely. So he goes, and it's the rabbi whose name is. My page is not wide enough. I can't see it.
It's like a hyphenated name.
It's Ben David. Ben David. Shalom Ben David. So he goes to Ben David, and he comes in, and he's like, and this is where we see Avishai, who's just in the class at one point. You can see him for a brief moment, and it's just sort of.
Do you see him?
I think you see him in this scene. I'm sure I saw him at one point.
Oh, I don't know if I noticed it.
It's a very small moment, but I think the point is that it's just, we've not been focusing on him, but he's in this world, and we're getting closer to his world. With these investigation scenes, and he comes in to speak to the rabbi, and they talk about, you have a car registered in this name, and he's like, I don't drive, I don't own a car, but it could be my son's, and I don't necessarily deal with who gets the car here or whatever. It sounds like someone who works at the school deals with this and got a car for his son, but it's under his name or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so obviously he's going to go look at the son at some point, but and again, he's still got the yarmulke on. He's sort of doing it to make him feel more chatty, essentially. He's like, hey,
right.
like, I'm Jewish just like you. You can talk to me. Very strategic, very strategic. But Yeah, so that was kind of the investigation stuff for the episode. But we hit a lot of big important beats. We hit, they find the car. They know that the culprits are Jewish, and so
Hmm.
so it's good. Obviously,
Yeah, that part, all that was really engaging the whole time. I
yeah,
was like glued to my screen, like, okay, so we have this information now that's going to lead to here. What about those cameras? And following along, like I said, it's very much like the film Patriots Day, which is just this for 2 hours, and it's so intense.
no, I enjoyed the investigation stuff a lot, and sometimes it can get a little bit convoluted if they don't convey the information clearly enough, where you get kind of lost in the okay, but like
This is done really well.
yeah. Especially since it's subtitled and it's like we don't just get to see things and get them at a glance. Like maybe we would in like an English speaking work.
That's true. I think there were a couple lines that I missed because I was looking at the footage.
Yeah.
It was just going by really quickly.
Probably nothing important, but
Yeah, I got
yeah.
I got most of it.
So going back to Hussein though, Hussein like he has some awkward conversations where Simon comes in and talks to him and tries to like raise questions like, oh, did you know he was planning to go to Turkey? What's his routine like? But did you know he was planning this trip? And he's like, yeah, I bought him a ticket. I've got it in my pocket. And he pulls out the ticket for Istanbul. And he's like, here, I've got it.
Yep.
And he's like, okay. So do you know that he's close with someone who's there? He's like, oh yeah, this guy. Yeah, he talks to him. Yeah. He's like, but they're really close. You realize that, right? Because I think one of the things that one of the kids says when Simon's talking to the kids in the forest is they say he had a sugar daddy in Turkey. I think that's how they phrased it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's how the subtitles said. I thought maybe translating.
Maybe that's just the translation,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well,
Sugar daddy.
Well, that's one of the crux of translating stuff. Actually, is that sometimes we don't have a phrase for something they do, so they have to go with the closest like English saying to make it work, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it works in the context of what they think his life is.
Yeah. No, like I'm saying, like imagine like if it was going the other way, like if we used the phrase, like see, this is really hard to do on the spot. I'll try to think of just a phrase that we use. Okay, this is a really British one, but like Bob's your uncle, right?
Bob's your uncle.
Right. If you just translate that directly, the person, let's say it's a French person, right? And it's translated, it's subtitled in French, and it literally just says Bob and then whatever is your uncle in French. They'll just be like, what the hell does that mean? Like, they won't understand it. So part of translating for subtitles is also localizing it so it's a phrase that we'll understand, it'll have the same meaning, kind of thing.
Right. I noticed there's a lot of usage of the word bro in this, and I wonder if that's like a real literal translation or not, too.
Yeah. I wonder if that's
Or
different.
is it more like we're just being casual, bro, like surfer?
I wonder if like if that is like, let's say we were translating something in Russian, if comrade would be translated to bro.
Yeah.
Yes, bro. Off to see Gorbachev right now, bro.
Mm-hmm. Watch Chernobyl.
Yes, watch Chernobyl. Chernobyl's very good. It's not translated. It's all in English, but it's just very good. But some awkward things here where he flat out says, he sort of asks like, "Is your son gay?" kind of thing, and he's like, "What? Why would you say that? Why would you say?"
He's really caught off guard.
Yeah, why would you say this awful thing to me? Like, why would you suggest that? This is all lies. You're just trying to like say upsetting things to trick me, and you actually feel kind of. I mean, it's possible that he is gay because of like the phone at the end of episode 2.
At this time, we still think so, like because that was the big reveal at the end of the last episode was that he was LGBT community member or whatever.
I guess what I should have said earlier, because I said the guy fabricated stuff. It's not so much that he fabricated, is that he went digging for it. In the chat rooms and stuff.
Right, but we're still like we're kind of unsure now because of the way the episode ends with him. Yeah,
I mean, I still got the impression he was gay. But like we'll see where it goes. But you feel kind of bad for him that maybe this didn't even have to come out. Maybe this was something that didn't have to be brought up because
right,
the killing had nothing to do with it.
Clearly, going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, and so he eventually sees his wife and they give him his phone back. There's a whole thing where his phone's not charged and the lady cop who comes in and who's like talking to him like is a lot more kind of like soft and considerate with him and tries to like we're trying to do what we can. I'll get you your phone. You'll probably need a charger though. I'll get you a charger. And she tries to give him some advice because when they're leaving later in the episode, she's like, hey, there's a lot of stuff in the media about this, and none of it's confirmed. And until we actually do our job, like, don't listen to any of it. It's all unfounded. Just don't pay attention.
Yeah, she's really concerned about it,
Yeah.
and yeah.
And you feel really bad for him because it's like, I mean, obviously,
Well, he's
like,
been locked in a room for the whole time. Like he has no idea what this narrative is.
oh, absolutely. But you also feel bad for him, I think, because, like, you know, when he hears this, like, oh, his uncle went mad and killed him for being gay. Like what's he going to think of that?
Yeah, right. Like his own family is, yeah.
Being torn,
It's totally outrageous. So.
being dragged across the mud on the media, even though his uncle, as far as we
Like
know,
he doesn't even know that his son has been burned.
no, he doesn't. Yeah, because that's the other thing is that he keeps asking because they get DNA swabs from them. And
Yeah, he keeps saying, why can't you just identify him?
Yeah,
You know
why-
what he's wearing, you know what he looks like.
Yeah,
And no one's giving him an answer.
and you're just waiting for the moment to say because we can't recognize him visually. He's unrecognizable.
But you know, the mom knows because she heard it on the radio.
Yeah, because obviously I don't think in a million years they would turn around and just go, you know, very coldly, because the body we found is completely mutilated. Like they wouldn't use that word. They'd try and soften it as much as they could, but like you're just kind of waiting for someone to say something that kind of implies that, and they never really do.
I was waiting the whole episode.
They chicken out. They really do.
I just kept thinking, like, is it cruel to let him go this long before telling him, or is it more cruel to just tell him? Like in this situation, or would it be better like where he was, like with his wife and family when he found out?
Technically, they've not actually confirmed it's him yet. They think it is because the underwear description, but that's not actually a positive ID yet.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I think technically they shouldn't do it until they actually officially know 100% that it's him. Even though they're already assuming it, I don't think they should tell him.
I mean, the last episode we talked about, like, I brought up why would they take his phone away, and now I understand. Like, they don't want him looking at what happened to his son.
Yeah, I think that's, and I kind of agree with that logic, is that you don't tell them the son is dead until you know for sure that he's actually dead, because technically they don't. Even though they're 99.9% sure at this point. Like, I get it. And when he goes home, like, first of all, he's like shocked and horrified at the street because he's like, what's all this writing? I told you to not overreact or do anything until Muhammad came back.
Yeah, everything's are on fire.
Yeah. It's like he walks into the apocalyptic war zone and he's like just mortified. And they got, you know, they've got their extended family and friends are all in there, and because, you know, because obviously they've been fasting during the day. This is clearly the time they're all getting their food out and they're going to make a big thing of it. But they come in and they're just sitting there quietly and they're like, you know, where's my other son? Like, where's he? And he eventually comes in bloody and beaten and bruised. And just, you know, and what I like about that, actually, just from a metaphor point of view, is that he comes in visually looking like how they feel. Like, as much as they physically look fine, the mother and father feel this beaten up. They do.
You would think that there would be some comforting involved, but there isn't. Everyone just kind of sits silently.
Because how they feel, that's how I took it, is they already feel like he looks. They're just not, you know, visually looking like that. And I thought that was a really neat touch in the there. It's got
another thing. That was kind of common that we saw a couple times in this episode is Muhammad's being treated as a martyr. Like, even the little boy like drew a stick figure with a crown on it and said that's Muhammad. And then we see when Hussein is driving home or being driven home, he goes past a wall that has that prophet, martyr Muhammad or something. Clearly his son is so there's some. It looks like his son is becoming quite a symbol for this writing.
Yeah.
That I'm sure is going to be a bigger deal.
Yeah, because we see the graffiti. Here's a bit of trivia. I learned this week. What is the singular of graffiti?
I don't know.
Graffito.
Graffito? That sounds made up.
It's not made up, and it's
I don't do this trivia.
It's the same rule as spaghetti. There's a singular of spaghetti, spaghetto. But you never talk about one bit. But you never talk about one bit of spaghetti, so no one ever uses it. Feel free to Google it and corroborate right now.
I think someone's pulling your leg.
You know what? I'll prove it. I'll prove it. Singular of spaghetti. Spaghetto. Yep.
That sounds made up.
So I'm going to give you a link right now to a Wikipedia or a Wiki dictionary page, or whatever it's called.
Let's not waste our time.
I have proved it.
Okay, you've proved it. It still sounds made up, but you've proved it, and I believe you. It just seems so unnecessary.
Don't roll your eyes at me when you say that. So the ending's very downbeat, actually, because it doesn't end like a big cliffhanger like last time. It's very kind of like the investigation's ongoing. We cut to the family just sitting there quietly. We cut to Simon contemplating.
It ends on, not like a big cliffhanger or anything, but it does end on a moment that we've been anticipating for a while. Hussein is with his family and he gets a phone call, and everybody knows what it is, and he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, we don't get to hear it.
Acts.
Yeah, we don't get to hear anything. We don't get to hear the phone call. We just get to see his reaction. That's all it is.
And everybody knows. And he sits down and has this really great framing shot with just the three of them, Hussein in the middle, his wife, and his son. And his wife is like kind of blurred out, but you can still see the tear, like the single tear go down.
Yeah, it's a side shot looking at them sort of in a line. Kind of thing and profile, and he's in focus, but both the son and the mother are out of focus. It's a really nice shot. Because obviously we've been focusing on him the most because he's the one we've been paying attention to.
He's the one we've been following. Yeah.
Actually, it reminds me. There's a shot in the last episode I really liked. I didn't mention is right at the start of episode 2 when he first starts walking away from their house. It's all kind of one shot, and you just kind of see the wife still at the window in the background out of focus the entire time throughout the entire shot. Because the camera's shaky, so she always goes out of frame, but then comes back in. You can still make her. You can just make her out in the background.
Well, he's still talking to her a little bit. Like, what was he wearing? Or like, he was right here.
No, it was further away. It was like way down the street, and you could just see like a little blob. It was like a little blob at the window, and it was still. And I just liked that little bit of like feeling like continuity, like she's still there, that she's not left that spot because she's looking for her son. But yeah, so he gets the bad news finally at the end of episode 3, which arguably makes this the end of Act 1, I suppose, in a weird way of the whole show. You know, if it were 10 episodes, the confirmation of that and him finding out, because the story of this first 3, or at least 2 and 3, has been him and his family getting to this point and realizing what's happened, and you know, confirming that the worst thing possible did happen.
Oh, does it end on this shot, or does it end on? Actually, it ends on a different scene, doesn't it? There's a woman who's in a club, like a wedding or something, where there's a band playing, and she's like scanning with a face tracker.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. They've got someone undercover
to try to identify who's there that might be the owner of the car that's outside that matches the description of the killers. He sees who the killers are or who matches the description.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, because he says there's one. And he says that's him or whatever. Or
and it's our guy that we've been waiting for. Avicii, is that his name?
Okay, all right.
I've been dancing around it because I can't remember his name.
Okay. Yes, he's Avicii in the footage. Yeah. I could swear I saw him in that classroom scene when he goes to see the rabbi.
He might have been.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just a dude
eating dinner too, so maybe I just missed it.
Maybe it was a dude who looked like him. Maybe I just was recognizing someone else as him. But I thought I could have sworn I saw him.
I mean, it would make sense that he would be there.
Yeah, and given that they kind of stayed away from him for the last essentially almost 2 full episodes up to the end of this one, it makes sense that the reason why we get introduced to him in the first one is because he was going to be on the other side of it somehow. Like it just when they sort of teased it was someone from that school, I immediately said, of course he's one of the culprits, because it just makes sense. It makes it, and the concept of
they set him up. Like, why else would he?
Exactly.
Would he be involved?
So it just makes a lot of sense. So but yeah, that is episode 3 of Our Boys, and it's still very good. Not as quite as amazing as episode 2. I think episode 2 is still the crown jewel so far.
Well, yeah, episode 2 we got so much of Hussein.
Yeah,
and he was really great.
The raw emotion.
I do really like this episode though, especially all the detective work. I really liked.
The raw emotion and drama of episode 2 kind of puts it above for me, but episode 3 is really good. I'd say this is better than episode 1 to sort of put it on a sort of scale, if you will. But yeah,
I would agree with that.
Detective stuff's really good. The family stuff's still great. And yeah, so that is Our Boys episode 3. So let us know what you think of the episode in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at @mailed_fuzz for channel updates. We've recorded like 3 things in a row, right? It's the end of a long session. We're very loopy here.
Oh, I'm tired.
Yeah. You can of course support us, and I'm going to give Tara the video off and do it myself. You can support us over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv, where you can do that for as little as $1 per month, and you get access to some bonuses, some exclusives, some early stuff, and you keep all the content coming. So So go and have a look-see over there. Do look out for our content we are reviewing. Me and Tara are reviewing The Righteous Gemstones from HBO as well, so you can check out that. You can also check out me and Cara reviewing a bunch of stuff, such as right now Mindhunter Season 2 from Netflix, and some several other things. So go and have a look at all that stuff. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?